This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
If you've built wealth, do you know how to preserve it? Today, we are here with Scott McLean to share some simple steps to help safeguard what you've worked so hard for and to also plan for the future. I'm your host of Financial Insanity, Alex Dingman, alongside, as always, Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group, right here in Waretown, New Jersey. And today we're going to be talking about preserving your wealth, also how to retire rich, and then we're going to go back in time, actually, to 2008. We're going to discuss that as well. But Scott, my friend, always great to see you. Happy spring.
You too. Yes, I love it. I can't wait. It's just a beautiful day, and I'm so glad our listeners are here. So it's a beautiful day for whether it's raining or sunshine. It's heading to warmth, and that's what I like.
Absolutely. A great time of year. All right. So it is great. You've built up this wealth, but that's just a part of the ballgame, isn't it, Scott? You got to preserve that wealth as well. There's a lot of things that, could come down the road that you got to look out for, but what do you see as maybe one of the biggest mistakes wealth people make when it comes to their money, Scott?
What a great question. I hear this so often. People think they made them a lot of money. They're excited, but they confuse making money with managing money. Just because you won the game doesn't mean you know how to protect the trophy. I've met CEOs and surgeons and business owners, you name it, who've built incredible wealth, but their portfolios are hanging by a thread. You see, their great income was coming in, but now they're shifting from a growth period or income where they're making money to now they have to use the money. So the tax traps, market exposure. There's no legacy plan. Alex, it's like building a mansion on a cliff without checking the foundation. And of course, it looks great, but until the first storm rolls in, well, here's the truth, Alex. Whether you have wealth without a strategy, it's like a high-performance car without brakes. Feels good until it doesn't. So if you're listening right now and you're out there and you haven't put a plan together, I can tell you, I've done well. Maybe you're thinking that you're getting cocky. Pride goes before a fall.
Yep.
But maybe you need a second set of eyes on your plan while you're heading in that area, whether you're in retirement or you're planning retirement. This is really important. So again, money doesn't disappear. It just finds somewhere else to go. And that seems to be the problem with not having a plan, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of that plan could be spreading out your assets into different investments, but talk about why that can be important, to not be all invested in one area necessarily.
Well, we've seen the market vacillate up and down. So obviously somebody's out there, they probably get their probably need to go to Walmart to get some Depends because it's been scary. And it does that over years, and it happens all the time. So diversification, it isn't just a financial strategy, it's a survival tactic. But because you're putting all your money in one place, like going skydiving with just one parachute and hoping it works. So, I think it's not a strategy. What you need to have is a game plan, especially when it comes to retirement. So again, diversifying your portfolio. I think we have some horses at our farm, and again, diversification. You think about predicting the stock market, the strategies. People go in every year. It's like betting on one horse in an 8-horse race. But if it doesn't work, well, you're going to have that horse limp across the finish line. So when people look at their portfolios, there are some very unique, very great tools. And I tell clients all the time, you don't want to be a genius in a bull market and a victim in the bear market. You really want to be prepared for both. And Alex, I think that is what people fall short of. When the market's screaming, we saw the technology happen in 1983. The market went up, then technology kicked in 1990. It screamed up to 99, and then the tech bubble hit and took 16 years to come back. So again, smart investors don't just chase returns. They have to put a strategy. And this is where at our firm, we kind of like focus on, and we try to get our people up to date what's going on. And by the way, if you're out there and you're thinking, what is he talking about? 609-488-4646 is not only a great phone call to make if you want some free advice or insight, please feel free to give our studios a call, and we'll talk to you off the air, no cost, no obligation, and give you some ideas. Perhaps maybe you have too much risk. Maybe your advisor's not looking at it. Again, we're going into another area, Alex, which is taxes.
Yep.
But again, if they want to give our studios a call, feel free, 609-488-4646, or maybe you want to come in or put in .com, and that'll go to our website to learn a little bit more about our firm, Alex. But that's really important. Don't put this off.
No, that's great advice, Scott. And you hinted at it here as we're talking about preserving wealth today on Financial Insanity. And it would be insane not to consider some tax efficient strategies. Talk about that a little bit so that your money can, work for you instead of against you.
Everybody loves paying taxes, right, Alex?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my fair share, Scott. It's like, you have to pay some, right? That's just a fact of life. Nobody loves it, but you can accept a little bit.
It's so important to understand how they work, which is why if your financial advisor is not looking at the tax return on a yearly basis, maybe twice a year, one in June and then to make some game plans, again, maybe in April after you get them done.
Mm-hmm.
But again, your IRAs, your 401ks, your 457, your game plan, the brokerage, they need to look at that. Maybe you need to do Roth conversions. I don't know. Or maybe you're making great income now, but now you're going to slow down the income and you're pulling out what you need. Maybe you should do some Roth strategies or not. Again, where do you pull the money from? That's where the real damage happens. You can blow up your Social Security tax up to 85% unless Trump passes that law gets passed. And if it does, we'll be doing a bunch of radio shows, Alex, on that.
Sure.
But again, if you change it, it blows up your Social Security taxes. And it also can spike your Medicare premium. So let's say you pull out $50,000 to maybe put a new pool in, or maybe you're buying something, you're helping the kids out or whatnot. This could not only affect your taxes, but affect your Medicare premiums. And this happened to a client of ours where they pulled money out. They bought their daughter a house, double dumb when the way they did it. They didn't pay attention to the rules. They didn't give us a call. They've been clients. I said, why didn't y'all call me? We could have guided you through this. And they got whacked upside the head, and they're going to get paid Medicare taxes. Well, again, a lot of people forget taxes aren't just on income. They hit your gains also. And if you're not careful, it can turn into a good year of disappointment in the tax bill. So you see your portfolios going up, and all of a sudden you see the tax bill. So this is really important. Again, we talk about this all the time, Alex. We're called tax loss harvesting, where we can sell losing position to realize the loss and use it to offset the gain, zero out the tax bill. So instead of $6,000 to IRS, well, maybe we can keep the count down to maybe zero. So again, this is really important. I can go more into depth on that, Alex, but I'll leave one more thought out there. We talk about the QCD, called Qualified Charitable Deductions. And those are great tools if you're giving money to charity. I wrote a paper. If you'd like to get a copy of my free paper, I'm happy to do that for those listening. But if you're giving to charity, why not give it directly from your investment accounts, your IRAs, and you're going to give it to the IRA's account and your retirement accounts and give it that way if you are giving, because you don't have to pay tax on it because the write-off is not that good. And as long as the tax plan stays the same for 2026, this could give great exemptions. Now, if they don't, we have a different game plan. But again, if you're pulling money out, a QCD could be a great, called Qualified Charitable Deductions. So there's a lot to look at, Alex.
Yeah.
A lot to look at. As we look at money, as we're doing the planning, Alex, I think you're going to bring up some ideas. I think, how do we really preserve that money? And that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also about preserving it moving forward for other generations. And you talked about some techniques, for charitable giving, but speak a little bit about when it comes to the legacy planning and making sure you can pass that wealth on by also hopefully avoiding some big tax bills.
Let's say, Alex, to give you an example, you have a $3 million estate. Now, if you're out there, just don't turn me off if you don't have a $3 million estate, because this could affect a smaller estate. But just giving you an example, if the money's sitting in IRA or highly appreciated assets, your kids could lose up to 30 to 40% taxes. That's nearly $1 million gone. Now, of course, we know that the laws have changed on $3 million estate because they changed the tax laws. But if it changes, which I don't think it will, you might be okay. This is where, when you do your estate planning, what is the limit? Now, the limits are great. They're good right now. They're wonderful, but it could change. That's why your advisor should be looking at the tax returns and understanding the tax laws. And don't forget that thanks to the current tax laws, the estate exemption is set to be cut in half in 2026. That's why I say we've got to pay attention to this. And if your advisor hasn't looked at your tax return or even asked you for it, you're missing something. You're driving down the road with one flat tire and your car is sparking because it's running on a rim, but you don't know the difference. You don't feel it. Well, because you're so used to it. Well, that's a nightmare waiting to happen. So this is really important to look at. What should we do tax planning? How should we do it? Our veterans, listen to me. If you've received the veterans benefit and you're getting tax-free income up to almost $4,000 a month right now, if you're 100% disabled, maybe you should be looking, you and your spouse, if you're married or if you're single, Roth conversions, because this could really benefit, again, when you receive this tax-free money because you've fought for our country, you've paid the price, and maybe you're disabled. We help tremendous amount of vets. So put that in the back pocket as well, you guys out there and you ladies out there, because, Alex, we built the tax practice for our financial clients because let's say the husband or the wife does the taxes and maybe they die. Who's left holding the bag? Well, the one who doesn't do taxes, and they have no clue, which is why I built the tax practice. So if you're out there and you need help, you say, Scott, I need someone who can look at our portfolio maybe more strategic.
Yeah.
How do I look at it? And of course, we can give your legacy. How do we pass money on, which we just did with another family? They have a huge, beautiful portfolio. And I said, how about we pass on more money to the kids tax-free? Let's arrange your money now. And so we're putting that into place. So again, there's a lot of strategies, Alex, out there. And I can promise you, if you put your head in the sand, the tax man will bite you, but it might bite you in the wrong place.
609-488-4646. That is the number for Scott McLean and his team at McLean Advisory Group here in Waretown, New Jersey, but they will serve outside that area as well. That number again, 609-488-4646. Just add a .com for the website. Well, great discussion there on preserving wealth. We come back, we're going to be talking about how to retire rich. This is Financial Insanity.
What if you ordered a pizza, but when you opened the box, a couple pieces were missing? That would be upsetting, right? Now think about how much you believe you have saved for retirement. Do you still owe taxes on that money? If you do, that could take a big bite out of your nest egg. Financial advisor Scott McLean and his team at McLean Advisory Group understand the importance of tax planning and can help you reduce the impact that Uncle Sam has on your retirement. Give them a call today to start working on your retirement tax plan. 609-488-4646. Create a plan today so that you can get as many slices of your retirement pie as possible. Call Scott McLean at 609-488-4646 today and schedule your retirement tax analysis. That's 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities. Firm may not give tax advice.
And when you pay down debt, you don't pay down the highest interest rate. The biggest mistake is you pay the highest interest rate card when you should do the snowball effect of paying down debt.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
We are pulling back the curtain on something that could change the way you think about retirement forever. You could pay less in taxes while still making more money. Would you want to know how? Of course you would. This is Financial Insanity. I'm your host, Alex Dingman, alongside Scott McLean of McLean Advisory Group. He is the founder and he is my friend. And we are joined today to talk about how to retire rich. And, that sounds great, Scott, paying less in taxes, making more money. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that?
I totally agree. I'm excited about this segment because people don't seem to get it, or maybe they're starting to get it, but they haven't implemented a game plan.
Yeah. And then, so what's the issue here? Why does this sound far-fetched, but in reality, it's just making some adjustments to get there? Talk a little bit about what the issue is.
Alex, really, it does sound like a magic trick, but it's actually just smart planning. The secret is using tax-efficient income strategies that wealthy have really been using for decades, and it's nothing new. I'll give you as much as I know and what we do so you can understand as a retiree. Dividend investing, then pulling out the dividends for income when in retirement to pay real estate taxes, to pay a car loan, whatever. The tax bracket could be from 0 to 15% to 20%. Look at Warren Buffett, Alex. He's worth billions. And he had his famous saying is, I pay less in taxes. I pay less in tax than my secretary. I scratched my head when I heard this years ago because we weren't doing this. So almost, 30 years ago, we weren't focusing on it. I changed that 25 years ago. But how? Because he doesn't live off a salary. He lives off the investments. He pulls out the dividends. And the dividend rules as of right now is beautiful. And so I don't know if you think about this, but you think about the income coming in from the dividends taxed lower, which is a beautiful structure. Now, some of you think, well, what about municipal bonds? Well, okay, that's a different ballgame in Roth IRAs. Properly designed life insurance and even tax-managed portfolios really can generate income to reduce or eliminate taxes and make your money last a lot longer. I call it the retirement income jujitsu. You can use the tax code and the advantage, of course, using it. But again, I'd rather use the tax code rather than getting a full body slam from some fancy jiu-jitsu guy who's better than me. So I can tell you, Alex, think about Warren Buffett and what he's doing.
Yeah.
His secretary was getting, of course, income as her paycheck. He was getting dividends.
Well, and talk about those percentages, Scott, just to put it in people's minds for us, to really help explain how a billionaire can pay less taxes than his own secretary. Just speak to the percentage here and the differences with the taxes.
Well, imagine I'm pulling in $60,000 of dividends, and I'm getting Social Security. I could be paying less than 10% on that total income. Number two, if Social Security changes, which I don't know if it is or isn't to be tax-free, it could be you could pull a lot more money out because dividends are taxed at a much lower rate. So let's say I'm pulling $100,000 out from my dividends. Well, that's wonderful. How much am I paying in tax? Maybe 4%, 5%. Let's say it's, according to the rules, 0 and 20%. So 20% on $100,000 of dividend. What a wonderful, wonderful tax bracket you could be in if this is you. So looking at it, looking at the tax bracket, looking at how it could work for you, this is the magic of working with someone. And I hope you're working with your advisor right now, and he or she is guiding you through this jungle of questions. Why? Because it's going to help you. Now, I've learned in the business because I wasn't taught that in my early stages of my career. And many advisors aren't looking at taxes. They'll do, Alex, what's called the put off. Call your tax guy and ask him what he thinks. Where I believe, when I wrote the book, The Three Blind Mice, in one of my chapters in the book, I talk about taxes, why the financial advisor should call your tax advisor or your tax CPA, and he or she, your tax person, your financial advisor, should call them and ask what's going on, what are we doing, and give some scenarios. So that relationship is now sealed. The three blind mice, now called the two blind mice, the financial advisor, tax guy, are working together for who? For you. Now, you might pay a couple bucks for that, but it could be totally worth it. So again, going back to basics, dividend investing, pulling out dividends. You're pulling out $50,000 a year. Social Security is $35,000. What is your tax bill? It could be, what, $3,000? Wonderful planning. But you've got to take time and get understanding what's going on. Don't just say, I don't know how that works. You need to understand just the basics, and the advisor should get together with your financial advisor as well as your tax, and they need to work together.
Yeah, as we have Scott today talking about some strategies to help you retire rich. If you have questions for Scott, the number is 609-488-4646. Again, 609-488-4646. And you know, we're using the Warren Buffett example about how he's paying less in taxes than his secretary, but we realize that people out there, most of us are not billionaires, Scott, but you do not have to be a billionaire to learn from this strategy. What can the common person, somebody who's near retirement, in retirement, what's the takeaways here for folks?
Pay attention to the taxes. I think I said that several times on this segment and before. Whether you understand the tax rules or not, pay attention. If your advisor is not looking at the tax return, that's a huge mistake. Or let's say they don't understand taxes, but did they call your tax preparer, your CPA? That is mistake number one, because they're blinded to the mistakes. As I put in my book, the financial planning process leads your money to a mousetrap. And many of you listening right now may be in that mousetrap or totally unaware. Why? Well, I've been with my guy for 30 years. He's so wonderful. She's so great. I love them to death. Okay. Did they look at your taxable estate, your tax returns on a yearly basis? Did they look at the legacy planning on how do we pass this money on as most tax efficient as possible? Did they review the will, the power of attorney, or the trust agreements to make sure that everything is in order? Because there are many, many rich people, Alex. And I think about this, we spoke about in our prior segment, where we talk about this guy named Steve McNair, the NFL quarterback.
Right.
2009, no will. Estimated value of the estate, $20 million. Wife had to file in court to become an administrator. Didn't have it set up. Family disputes. How about Jimi Hendrix for us old people like me? No will. But you'd think these rich people, he had $80 million worth. And of course, it fell where? To legal battles over the estate. Marilyn Monroe, let's go back then. Yep. So there are many segments. People think they got it all in order. And these are rich people. Marilyn Monroe had no will, had no trust planning at all. And I think about the greatest guy, the singer, unbelievable, Michael Jackson, 2009, $500 million estate. Did they do tax planning? Did they do estate planning, which is what I call the three blind mice? They're not working together. And the IRS claimed $434 million. And the estate, I can tell you, if you're out there, don't put this off. This is why our firm looks at the legal documents, the estate, the will, the power of attorney, the living will, the trust agreements. We look at the tax returns, and we try to put a game plan together for those who want to work with us. They should be totally thrilled that we can look at all the areas and have the relationship with your CPA and your lawyer.
Talk about your process when folks meet with you and you're having those initial conversations. Just talk about how, hey, this isn't a time to open up that checkbook. This is really a time to kind of open up your mind and talk about who you are.
The two types of people, number one, or in retirement, is before retirement, so they're still working. They need to put a game plan together. We want to find about that, their dreams, their goals, what they want to achieve. So the dreams is a big deal. Then we talk about the dollars. Maybe you're in retirement, heading into retirement. We want to know the dollars. Where are they? Taxable, non-taxable. What's the capital gains along with the tax return? We want to look at that. We want to disseminate it. We want to spend time. And by the way, this is no cost. When we meet people for the first time, we really want to find out what's going on and how can we make it more tax efficient? How can we bolster or benefit the portfolio when you pull out money? And Alex, when we do that, we then, of course, look at the estate plan, and we want to make sure that's buttoned up. So if they're going to pass money on to the legacy. So it's the dreams, the dollars, and passing it on, the legacy. How do they want that to look? Now, I hear everybody saying, well, Scott, I want my money to, my check to bounce to the caretaker. I get that. I should say it wrong word. The undertaker.
Yeah, right.
So we want the check to bounce. Okay, well, that's not very nice. You guy, put your body in the ground.
Come on.
But notwithstanding, we want to make sure that the family is not feuding. The tax man is not smiling. The courts are not having all of your assets on I call it the laundry, as your laundry, your clothing is hanging out, drying out in the laundry. That would be your assets. Can anybody see it? How do we hide those things for those people who don't want to share all that stuff with the common public? You see, we go to probate process. How do we avoid that? And this is what we do, looking at the full picture. Now, in the financial planning area, if they decide they want to work with us, great. It could be as simple as a quick phone call to see if it's a good fit. It could be an appointment. They meet with us, Alex. They bring in their tax return, their financial portfolio. They bring in their legal documents. We ask a lot of questions. We drill down to find out really what is your dream, desire, your legacy. How do you want to look and feel? Now, this could be on a yearly basis, too, because things change. Today, you feel great. Tomorrow, you can't get out of bed. We need to discuss this on a yearly basis for the clients that we serve, because this is important. And I think if your financial advisor isn't doing that, maybe it's time that he or she was a great fit for growing your money. But the biggest problem in climbing a mountain, the Sherpa, is when you descend from the mountain, that's where the accidents happen. And I see that in the retirement planning. When you're descending, pulling money out, are they looking at all those areas? We'd like to be your Sherpa, and that might be a good fit. But again, no cost, no obligation. Let's just have a come to Jesus meeting. Let's have a discussion to see if we are the place for you. If not, we shake hands, but you're going to get some great ideas on maybe what to do and what to go back to your financial advisor and questions to ask him or her. That's what we'd like to do. A good name is way more desired than riches, I can tell you that.
And the number for Scott McLean, the McLean Advisory Group in Waretown, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And next, Scott's going to show us how a retired couple making $85,000 per year can pay less than $4,000 in taxes. This is Financial Insanity.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
I call it the chicken and the egg. The chicken is the investment. The egg is the dividend. And so when the chicken pops out the eggs, if you don't need the money, let's reinvest the eggs and buy more chickens.
Man, that's just an excellent analogy, Scott.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Today on Financial Insanity, we're discussing the secret to retiring rich. I'm Alex Dingman, host of Financial Insanity, here with Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. Want to remind folks, if you have questions, if something resonates with you, you want to learn more, that number for Scott and his team, 609-488-4646 to reach McLean Advisory Group right here in Waretown, 609-488-4646. All right, Scott, explain to us, we teased this before the break, but explain how a retired couple making $85,000 per year can pay less than $4,000 in taxes. And here's some other numbers here with this married couple we're talking about. They have $1.1 million in dividend-paying investments, receiving an average dividend of 4.5%. That's $50,000 per year in dividend income. They also have $35,000 in Social Security benefits. So how much in taxes do they owe, Scott? That's what we're trying to figure out.
Real quick, if I wasn't doing taxes or understanding, I'd be thinking maybe $10,000 to $15,000, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds like a fair number.
The tax bill isn't that. It's just right around $3,700.
Well, that sounds pretty good, Scott. I mean, okay, again, they're making $85,000 a year, but then they're paying less in tax than someone that would be making about $50,000 at a job. How does this work out, Scott?
See, the job is you've got to pay all these certain taxes, whether what state you're living in. New Jersey would be state tax, federal tax, FICA, FUCA tax, and your tax up the tailpipe. But because the tax rules, you think about number one, Social Security. You see, Social Security was developed to be tax-free. Now, if Trump's bill goes through, it's going to be a total windfall profit for those of you listening who are taking Social Security. This is why you want to keep our phone number on your back pocket, because if it happens, there's some great strategies. I'll give it to you, 609-488-4646. So if the bill goes through on Social Security, making it all tax-free, call me directly, 609-488-4646. I'd love to share with you. So that's number one, Social Security. Now, Social Security currently has rules. It can be up to 85% could be taxable. Well, this family is bringing in, according to what Alex said, they're bringing in $35,000. Could that be 85%? And that's yes, depending what kind of money's coming from. But the answer is no. You see, dividends and income is taxed at zero based on their income tax. So because the tax rules is $17,500 for Social Security, we're thinking about that. Okay. And of course, it goes up to $44,000 for 85%. A lot of numbers. I don't want to screw you up, but you guys don't lose me. I'll try not to lose you, especially if you just listened. How do you make your retirement as tax-free or as tax efficient as possible? Remember, qualified dividends and non-qualified dividends, two types. And qualified dividends are zero if you earn under $96,700 if you're married. And then you're getting a $32,300 deduction because you're married. You still like each other, or maybe you don't, but you're still together. Either way, that's $67,000 taxable income minus $32,300 taxable. That leaves $35,000 of taxable income. Final tax, well, we're looking at $2,320 at 10% or $1,400. And you think about at the next $12,000, because it's called marginal tax bracket, brings you up to around $3,760. Let me say it again. Marginal tax bracket for the first $23,200 is 10% or $2,320. Marginal tax bracket then goes to another level at 12%. So again, that's $1,400. I went over a lot of numbers, Alex. If you're out there and you're thinking, what the heck did he just say? Come back, repeat it. I'd love to repeat it at 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Let's have a discussion about you. It could be a quick 15-minute discussion. You can PDF or send me over your tax return. I can rip through it and say, here's some game plan. Now the next section would be, how do we make it happen for you? And that's a lot, Alex. And I went over a lot of numbers, and I surely apologize if I lost you. But one thing I won't lose you in, when we meet and we sit together and we crunch the numbers, you're going to say, wow, I'm so glad I met with Scott or George or our advisors at McLean Advisory Group, because that makes sense. How come I wasn't taught this? I get this all the time when people leave our office. They go to our front desk girl and she says, Scott, they asked so many questions. They couldn't believe how much information they got. Total free. Come visit with us. I can tell you the time we spend, whether it's on the phone or in person, will totally benefit you, because taxes are a thorn in the flesh, a pebble in your shoe that just doesn't seem to be going away, Alex.
Again, explain to folks too, without getting too into it, but if the couple had the same income from selling stocks instead of dividends, what would happen? Talk about a little bit of the difference here of selling stocks instead of collecting the dividends.
Great question. So if they had to sell stocks for income instead of collecting dividends, I call it cannibalizing their asset. They're selling off stock shares at whatever price it is. If the price is high or low, if it's starting to go down, you're actually selling more shares of stock to get the same income. So we look at a couple things. Number one, capital gains. Is it long-term or short-term capital gains. Now, there's a huge difference, Alex, a tremendous difference. Long-term capital gains is your love affair with your money. It is the best in the world. Short-term capital gains is yucky. It's totally all taxable. Number 2, market risk. When you look at the portfolio and you look at the dividends, what if the market drops 30% and you have to lose money? Up to 30% could be whacked on your portfolio. Did you sell shares of stock? You have to sell a lot more shares of stock. You're going to have a loss, and which happens to what? You're depleting your portfolio. Now, for us farmers out there, your chicken is the investment. The egg is the dividend. The dividend is coming out, let's say, on a quarterly basis. That is yummy. But when the stock price goes down, but they're still paying the same dividend, even though the chicken is getting skinnier, the dividend is coming out. So you're getting to eat the eggs. Or for some of you who don't need to eat the eggs, you're reinvesting. I'm trying to keep it simple because people don't understand long-term capital gains, short-term capital gains. They don't understand how it affects it. It does affect Social Security. So again, when we look at that, that's why investing in dividend is a game changer, or understanding it at least. Now, if you're investing in tech stocks, they could scream up, as we saw in up to February in 2025, and then the market took a major correction in the stocks. Hopefully they'll come back. But if you're banking on gains, if you're banking on growth, growth can turn into shrinkage. Shrinkage could turn into, well, you're not enjoying the grandchildren. You're not enjoying the family. You're not going out to eat because you're watching the computer by osmosis. You're praying and hoping it goes back up, thus ruining your enjoyment. Paying attention to the stock market, looking at it every single day. Is that what you want in retirement? Maybe it is. But for many people I deal with, they just want to know that their money is in a great place, getting a nice check on a monthly basis. And there are some really, really wonderful places to put it if you want no risk at all, Alex. And that's what we have to put together, a tax-efficient game plan.
Well, yes, and you started this whole conversation off with the question of, do you like paying taxes? And we just we had a good time with that. Of course, no one really enjoys paying taxes. We all know we have to pay some, but what we're talking about here is your finances in retirement, and this stuff can be a real game changer, Scott, when it comes to having your money work more for you instead against you, and that's really what we're talking about here, with our finances, making sure that money doesn't run out, for a retirement that could last several decades.
It could. And paying unnecessary taxes, having your portfolio in too much risk. I've seen when the market goes up, everybody wants to jump in. When it goes down, they want to yell at the financial guy because, well, you put me in here. Well, you wanted to stay in there. Now it's a fight between the financial planner and or advisor and the client, because the client wanted risk, but maybe the advisor is wise in the game by saying, are you sure you want that much risk? Beta. Do you know the beta of your portfolio? What's that? Too much risk. If you don't know your beta, you might want to give a studio a call, 609-488-4646, to understand the risk that you're facing, and maybe you could adjust that. A, so you don't run out of money. B, what if the market crashes? And C, are you paying too much in taxes? Those are the three areas. And then I guess D, what if the husband and wife, if you're married or a partnership, what if one of you die and the Social Security is off the table and the pension is cut? How does your retirement look then? These are questions we want to ask about your dreams, your dollars, and your dynasty as we look at your retirement, so you can put your head on the pillow and not worry as much, or not worry at all, knowing that your place, your money's tax efficient, your money's working hard for you, not keeping up with the stock market. The stock market is a scream, but it could also go drop down. But again, making sure as we have a steady income, the tortoise versus the hare, and then keeping your money well preserved in your retirement. And these are the areas we talk about, because some people want to take risk, some don't. I don't know about you listening right now. I'd like to touch base with you. Perhaps maybe it's time to have a checkup from the wallet up. In other words, looking at it, as well as the neck up, saying, you know what, maybe I do have too much risk. Or maybe you want more risk. Or maybe you need a trust. to make this money really efficient and a game plan to pass on your legacy. This is what we look at in The Three Blind Mice. If you would like to get a copy of our book, when you come visit with us, we'll give it to you for free. No cost, no obligation. Come visit with us. Give us our studios a call, 609-488-4646. Again, as we try to create a tax efficient, making your money work for you. And again, we talked about reducing taxes. Maybe a dividend game plan could be just for you.
No, I love that. Thank you, Scott. And, it's been more than 15 years since one of the biggest financial meltdowns of our lifetime. What have we learned since then? Well, we're going to travel back in time to the year 2008. That is next here on Financial Insanity.
What if you ordered a pizza, but when you opened the box, a couple pieces were missing? That would be upsetting, right? Now think about how much you believe you have saved for retirement. Do you still owe taxes on that money? If you do, that could take a big bite out of your nest egg. Financial advisor Scott McLean and his team at McLean Advisory Group understand the importance of tax planning and can help you reduce the impact that Uncle Sam has on your retirement. Give them a call today to start working on your retirement tax plan. 609-488-4646. Create a plan today so that you can get as many slices of your retirement pie as possible. Call Scott McLean at 609-488-4646 today and schedule your retirement tax analysis. That's 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities. Firm may not give tax advice.
Frankly, you could have your grandkids tweet out to your friends or go on the Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is and say, I got great information from Scott.
And you left out TikTok there as you're rambling off the different social media being used by the kids today. You got to remember that TikTok.
Oh, that's right. Tickety-tock.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
2008. Yes, it's been more than 15 years since one of the biggest financial meltdowns of our lifetime. Well, have we learned anything since then? Today, we are going back to 2008. This is Financial Insanity, and we're hopping in the time machine. I am Alex Dingman. I am here with Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group, here in Waretown, New Jersey. If you have questions, that number for Scott and his team, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Scott, this is fun to do, and it's not all doom and gloom. I'm sure there were some bright spots in 2008, but I do want to go through some of these news, some pop culture from that time, Scott. All right, I'm sure this will be easy to remember. It wasn't that long ago, but the top movies, Scott: The Dark Knight, Iron Man, Taken, and Slumdog Millionaire.
I love it. I've seen them all.
Oh, and here's one. We've probably all seen this. Breaking Bad actually made its TV debut. Wait, I can't believe it's been that long. Barack Obama in 2008 elected president of the United States. Here's one. Bernie Madoff. I think we all, unfortunately, probably remember that name, but old Bernie, arrested and charged with securities fraud. It would later be revealed to be the largest Ponzi scheme in history. And we actually have some audio from that time here, Scott. So this is Ian Tierman, 90 years old, a victim of Madoff's. And here is him talking to the Associated Press. And this is him talking about the news that his financial advisor gave him.
He said, my father, my mother, my aunts, uncles, we have lost everything. I have lost everything, and you've lost everything.
So there you go. That's the financial advisor saying that they had lost everything and you have lost everything. I mean, can you even imagine, Scott, either presenting that information to someone or hearing that? 90 years old.
Yeah, I sadly... Madoff made off with more than just money. He stole people's peace of mind.
Right.
He stole families that were ruined. And Alex, hearing the audio clip just gives me chills. You've lost everything.
Yeah.
And that's just one man. I think if people had Lucent, even a big company, too much stock in one company. Lucent wasn't what happened to them. And so you think thousands of families, retirees on Madoff, charities blindsided by someone they trusted. And so I think this is so scary. You think 2008, the superhero movies and the big elections, but it all gave a painful reminder without transparency is really dangerous. Madoff wasn't just a fraud. He was a lesson we can learn, a lesson that if you don't understand what your money's doing, who's holding it, how it's protected, you could be vulnerable. That's right. And I've got people calling Scott. They looked at some newspaper ad and they said, Scott, we're thinking about buying this guaranteed 10% return on a monthly basis. They pay the dividends. When I looked it up, I called the client back and said, after doing my research, I would tell you to stay away. It sounds great, but everything I read is that they're taking money from one person, paying another one, like a Ponzi scam. So again, that's why I tell every client, you should never feel confused about where your money is or where it's invested. Is it and how it's invested? This is why a fiduciary, someone like our firm, it's so important to understand what's going on and then asking questions, because it does happen. And it happens to close friends, let alone these fraudsters who are now calling, whether it's during IRS time or other times, these people trying to get into your account saying they're the tech service. They're kind of rip you off and get into your computer. They are out there, and it's so prevalent. Alex, I am worried for the seniors out there, especially the older ones who are so vulnerable. And that's why I love our firm, and we just really try to pay attention. So there's not a blind trust and bad advice. That's a tragedy we never want to repeat.
No. Well, and Scott, we have a lot of fun on this show, but for you take it very seriously at, what it means to have somebody come to you and to trust you with their investments, to trust you with making a plan for retirement. Just talk a little bit about that, about, how in the chair that you're sitting in, just the importance that, what you do, it just really matters, and how much, you really value being able to earn someone's trust and to show them how you can help them, live out their dreams.
I do love this business. At my age now, I'm an old dog at 66 years old, almost 67. And I think about it. I love this field. But it does concern me because today's investments could be tomorrow's losers. You have to really pay attention. And we could be blindsided too by saying, okay, let's buy this stock. And of course, it's great dividend, which is wonderful. Like AT&T is a great dividend. Verizon, these are some great dividend paying tools. The stock price could go down or up, but the question is, am I getting my check? The people need to understand how it works. The clients that come in with us, I go to the board, and when our firm go to the board and we say, here's how this tool works, tool meaning investment. This is how this investment can sway. This has been the history. Alex, if we go back to 2008, price to earnings was right around 44-1. And when we look at that, the PE ratios was too high. And we look at the PE ratios compared to history, wow, maybe it's time to get out because the light turned red, but you got your foot on the throttle because the market seems to be screaming up till October 2007. Then the poop hit the fan. Luckily, we were really in a good, safe position. So when we talk to people, Alex, we really want to know what's in your heart. Maybe you have an advisor and you love the advisor. That's wonderful. But are they looking at everything? Are they looking at the intricacies of your tax return? Are they looking at the will, power of attorney, living will? Do you have a special needs child? Is your husband's life or your wife's life or your partner's lights going dim that we need to shift them into a trust so the nursing home doesn't get all your money? And when we look at everything, we know the price of goods are going up. You see the houses going up. In 2008, we talked about they were dropping.
Yeah.
So when we look at the whole picture, just like Madoff was trying to a Ponzi scam, in all fairness, he was a genius in stealing money.
True.
I'm not saying he was a genius, so don't quote me for the woke news out there.
Right.
I'm saying he knew how to get your money, and he smiled and he got the money. So this is where you got to be really careful. You got some good-looking advisors out there that are maybe not doing what they need to do. They take your money, and they are done. Are you done? Think about this to yourself out there. Are you totally and completely satisfied where you're at? Do you know what's going on? And if your spouse passed away, would he or she know what to do, or they left to the wolves? Now they could be vulnerable to the Madoffs of the world, or the financial advisor who just want to sell products to what? Pay their mortgage, to pay their car payment, to buy a new suit. This is what we need to protect, Alex. And I see this in my, now going on my 44th year in the industry. I see it hasn't changed. It's just a different nuance. And now AI is going to now you're going to be speaking to AI people and not even know they're real people. This gets even scarier. And I think this is why you need to get in front of people and know who they are, get their background, and understand, wow, when people come here, I like being here. That's what I hear all the time, whether they do business with us or not. They felt comfortable. They had no pressure. And they said, you know what? This is a good place. Maybe not for me, but for my spouse. So maybe they come over with a portion of their accounts, and they know that they're in good hands. This is what's important to us, Alex.
Yeah. And feel free to contact Scott as well and the team at McLean Advisory Group right here in Waretown, New Jersey. That number, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646, going back to 2008. And we can, remember this dark joke that originated back then as America's 401ks became 201ks, as nationally 401k and IRAs lost about $2.4 trillion in the last half of 2008. Average loss for workers who have been working for 20 years was about 25%. So can you even imagine trying to retire at that point? So, how do we react to that? What can we learn from that time period, Scott?
I think number one, we can learn, don't sit on your laurels.
Yeah.
Number two, we talked about the price to earnings ratio. We need to watch that. Number three, are we at the right place? Are you taking too much risk? People I thought they were cruising into retirement, suddenly found themselves slamming on the brakes in 2008 saying, oh my gosh, do I have to go back to work? Or those people that were obviously when the market dropped $2.4 trillion vanished like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Well, it wasn't friendly. It was just numbers on a screen, right? Until it affected your way. Honey, can we retire? Honey, do I have to go back to work? 25%, really, you think about that, got hurt more than that. And it shook people's confidence in working with an advisor like myself. It shook their confidence in, do they do it online or did they do it themselves? It shook the confidence of what's the market doing? And so, of course, with that, too much risk, too little planning, and no one really checked to see if the parachute was packed correctly or not. And that's where we try about allocation, or when you diversify your portfolio. That's why we focus on income planning for the retirees, risk management, and diversification. Those three words are not just words. They become real when you're banking on that income, and all of a sudden you get a phone call from the oncologist. Can you come down? We need to have a discussion. Or you get a phone call, your child just got in a car accident. You're going to need some money. Or maybe you get that call, maybe you have a special needs child. And now how do we handle the special needs child? These are, Alex, this is what I love about the business, because we can talk about it. I didn't say we can fix them like Elmer's glue, but we need to have that conversation, because when the music stops, that's when people start to think, oh my gosh, what do I do? And that's called pre-planning or post-planning. I don't know about you, but we want to be really, really focused on what if scenarios and how we're at today, because everybody loves making money. Everybody feels good when you're making money. You're going to go out to dinner more. But when the poop hits the fan and things start to change, that's where the music stops, Alex.
Yep, absolutely. And it's been a great show today. A final time, that number for Scott and his team, 609-488-4646. Again, 609-488-4646. Just go to .com. Take that number, add a .com for the website. Scott, great to see you, my friend. Another great show.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I hope those listeners out there, hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back for more.
Yep, absolutely. Until next time, this has been Financial Insanity.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.